Dear learners, a very warm welcome. Today's lecture focuses exclusively on two closely connected aspects of value education, its objectives and its need. In an age marked by rapid technological advancement, intense competition and constant social change, the relevance of value education has increased rather than diminished. While education systems have succeeded in expanding access to knowledge and skills, they often fall short in nurturing ethical understanding, emotional maturity and social responsibility. Within this context, that value education becomes indispensable. Education, in its true sense, is not merely the transmission of information or preparation for employment. It is a lifelong process aimed at shaping individuals who can live meaningful, responsible and socially productive lives. Value education provides the moral and ethical foundation upon which intellectual and professional development must rest. Without this foundation, education risks becoming mechanical, self-centered and disconnected from human welfare. Let us first understand the objectives of value education. The foremost objective of value education is the holistic development of the individual. This includes intellectual, emotional, social, moral and spiritual dimensions of personality. Research in educational psychology consistently shows that academic success alone does not guarantee life satisfaction or social adjustment. Studies by UNESCO and OECD have emphasized that social and emotional learning, which is deeply connected to value education, plays a crucial role in students' long-term well-being and success. Learners who are exposed to value-based education demonstrate better self-control, empathy and resilience, which directly influence their academic engagement and life outcomes. Another major objective of value education is the development of moral and ethical reasoning. Students are often confronted with situations where rules are unclear and decisions involve ethical dilemmas. Value education equips learners with the ability to distinguish between right and wrong, not through rote moral instruction, but through reflection, discussion and reasoned judgment. Research conducted by Lawrence Kohlberg on moral development highlights that moral reasoning evolves through stages and can be enhanced through guided educational experiences. Value education creates such experience by encouraging dialogue, perspective taking and ethical analysis. Dear learners, value education also aims to instill a sense of responsibility and accountability. In modern societies, individuals enjoy increasing freedom, but freedom without responsibility often leads to social disorder. Value education teaches learners to take responsibility for their actions, decisions and their impact on others. Studies on civic education indicate that students who receive structured value-based instruction are more likely to participate in community services, follow social norms and engage constructively in civic life. Another important objective is to develop a respect for human dignity and equality. In diverse societies, education must actively counter prejudice, discrimination and social exclusion. Value education promotes respect for differences related to culture, religion, gender, language and socio-economic background. Research in inclusive education demonstrates that classrooms emphasizing respect, empathy and cooperation reduce bullying and improve peer relationships. When students internalize values of equality and justice, they contribute to more inclusive and harmonious social environments. Value education further aims to promote social harmony and cooperation. Modern life is increasingly characterized by individualism and competition. While competition can motivate achievement, excessive focus on individual success often undermines cooperation and collective well-being. Value education balances this by fostering teamwork, mutual respect, and shared responsibility. Research in collaborative learning shows that students who work in value-oriented cooperative settings develop stronger interpersonal skills and demonstrate higher levels of mutual trust. Another key objective of value education is the cultivation of emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence includes self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy, and effective interpersonal communication. Research by Daniel Goleman and others has established that emotional intelligence is as important as cognitive intelligence for success in life. Value education nurtures emotional intelligence by encouraging reflection on emotions, understanding others' feelings, and responding to situations with sensitivity and balance. Value education also aims to strengthen democratic values and citizenship. Democracy requires citizens who respect laws, value dialogue, tolerate dissent, and participate responsibly in public life. Value education helps learners understand democratic principles such as freedom, equality, justice, and participation. Empirical studies in civic education indicate that students exposed to democratic classroom practices and value-based discussions are more likely to vote, engage in public debate, and support democratic institutions as adults. Another objective is the development of national integration and global understanding. Value education fosters a balanced sense of patriotism that emphasizes unity, responsibility, and respect for diversity rather than narrow nationalism. At the same time, it promotes global values such as peace, cooperation, and environmental responsibility. UNESCO's Global Citizenship Education Framework highlights that value education is essential for preparing learners to address global challenges such as climate change, inequality, and conflict. Value education also seeks to guide students toward meaningful life goals. In many cases, learners pursue education without clarity about purpose, leading to frustration, stress, and dissatisfaction. Value education encourages students to reflect on what constitutes a good life, ethical success, and personal fulfillment. Longitudinal studies in positive psychology show that individuals who align their goals with intrinsic values such as contribution, relationships, and integrity experience greater life satisfaction than those driven solely by external rewards. Dear students, having discussed the objectives, let us now examine the need for value education, which is even more pressing in contemporary society. One of the strongest reasons for the need for value education is the increasing moral and social challenges faced by modern societies. Rising incidents of violence, corruption, intolerance, and unethical behavior indicate a serious erosion of values. Despite advancements in science and technology, societies across the world continue to struggle with social conflict and ethical crises. Researchers have pointed out that these problems are not due to lack of intelligence or skill, but due to weakened moral foundations. Dear learners, another major reason for the need for value education is the imbalance between cognitive development and moral development in modern education systems. Curricula often emphasize examinations, rankings, and employability, while ethical reasoning and emotional growth receive minimal attention. Research conducted by the World Economic Forum has identified ethical judgment, empathy, and social responsibility as essential future skills. Value education addresses this imbalance by integrating moral learning into the educational process. The commercialization of education further strengthens the need for value education. When education is viewed primarily as a means to economic gain, learners may prioritize success at any cost. This mindset can encourage unethical practices such as dishonesty, plagiarism, and unfair competition. Studies in academic integrity show that institutions with strong value-based cultures experience lower rates of academic misconduct. Value education reinforces honesty, integrity, and respect for ethical standards. Another critical reason for value education is the psychological stress and emotional instability among students. Rising levels of anxiety, depression, and stress among young people have been documented globally. Research indicates that lack of emotional coping skills and moral grounding contributes to this crisis. Value education provides learners with inner strength, self-understanding, and resilience, helping them cope with pressure and uncertainty in healthier ways. Value education is also needed to address social fragmentation and weakening community bonds. Urbanization, digital communication, and changing family structures have reduced face-to-face interaction and community support. Value education fosters empathy, compassion, and social responsibility, helping rebuild trust and cooperation within communities. Studies in social psychology confirm that empathy-based educational interventions significantly improve pro-social behavior. Another important reason for the need for value education is the challenge of cultural and religious diversity. While diversity enriches societies, it can also lead to misunderstanding and conflict if not guided by mutual respect. Value education promotes tolerance, dialogue, and peaceful coexistence. Research on intercultural education demonstrates that students exposed to value-based diversity education show reduced prejudice and greater openness towards others. Environmental degradation is another pressing concern that highlights the need for value education. Scientific knowledge alone has not prevented environmental destruction. What is lacking is a value-based commitment to sustainability and responsibility towards nature. Studies in environmental education emphasize that attitudes and values play a decisive role in pro-environmental behavior. Value education instills respect for nature and a sense of stewardship essential for sustainable development. Value education is also crucial in the context of technological advancement and digital life. Technology offers immense benefits, but it also raises ethical questions related to privacy, misinformation, cyberbullying, and digital addiction. Research indicates that digital literacy without ethical guidance can lead to misuse of technology. Value education helps learners develop ethical judgment and responsible digital behavior. Another strong justification for value education is its role in nation building and social development. A nation's progress depends not only on economic growth but also on social cohesion, trust, and ethical leadership. Historical and contemporary studies show that societies with strong value systems experience higher levels of social trust and institutional stability. Value education contributes by preparing responsible citizens who prioritize collective welfare alongside personal success. Value education is also essential for developing leadership qualities. Effective leadership requires integrity, empathy, fairness, and ethical decision making. Research in leadership studies confirms that ethical leadership improves organizational performance and public trust. By nurturing these qualities early, value education prepares future leaders capable of guiding society responsibly. Another significant need for value education lies in its ability to bridge the gap between knowledge and action. Many individuals understand ethical principles but fail to apply them in real life. Value education emphasizes internalization of values through reflection, practice, and real life application. Studies on moral education show that experiential and reflective approaches are more effective in shaping behavior than purely theoretical instruction. Value education is also necessary to strengthen family and social relationships. Respect, empathy, patience, and communication are essential for healthy relationships. Research in family studies indicates that individuals with strong value orientation maintain more stable and supportive relationships. Education that neglects these aspects leaves learners ill prepared for personal and social life. Finally, value education responds to the global crisis of meaning and purpose. Many young people experience confusion about identity, direction, and values in an increasingly complex world. Philosophers and psychologists alike argue that education must help individuals find meaning beyond material success. Value education provides a moral compass that helps learners navigate life with clarity and purpose. To conclude, the objectives and need of value education are deeply interconnected. Value education aims to develop morally grounded, emotionally balanced, socially responsible, and ethically aware individuals. At the same time, the growing moral, social, psychological, and environmental challenges of contemporary society make value education not merely desirable but essential. By integrating value education into formal education systems, institutions can ensure that learning contributes not only to professional competence but also to personal integrity and social harmony. In this way, value education becomes the foundation upon which sustainable individual and societal development is built. With this, you should now have a clear idea of what value education seeks to achieve and why it is so necessary in today's world. We have seen that value education is not limited to learning moral principles but helps us develop responsible attitudes, emotional maturity, and ethical judgment in real life situations. In a time when knowledge and skills are easily accessible, values give direction and meaning to their use. I hope this session encourages you to think about how values influence our choices and behavior in everyday life. We will continue our discussion on value education in the next session. Thank you for your attention and I look forward to meeting you again.